Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. Well, as you know, for those of you who follow my recaps, which, by the way, just a side note, I've kind of put that on the side for a while. I've just got too many pens to review that I know are of great interest to all my viewers. I've received a bunch of them. Purchased and otherwise loaned to me or even sent to me for review. And I've also got my nib series that I've got to kind of try to get going there. So I'm going to try to combine all of that as quickly as I can. But I got to tell you, for those who follow my recap, just to get back to my thoughts, you know that I'm interested in the Chinese pen market. Now, I know that's a little bit controversial because some of you would never buy a Chinese pen. And look, I respect that. But for those of you who are interested, as you know, it's been kind of a slow year. Dieman has been very, very quiet. Pen BBS is almost non-existent. There's this 550 or 559 that's floating out there. I see that in some of the Facebook community pages, but I just don't know where to buy it. Mahjong has come up with something. Jinao has kind of recycled the same pens with different materials and colors. There's not much coming out of there, but there is some. But Asvine, let me tell you, Asvine has kind of taken the lead this year and I've come out with some very, very interesting offerings. You have my lemon pen, the M6 that I reviewed last week. They're in the mix. Admoc is in the mix. So, but it looks like at the end of the year here, right before Christmas, there's a little bit of a push. I've been seeing a lot more there that meets the eye. And this pen that I'm reviewing for you today is no exception. This is the Asvine J16. I think it's a great offering, folks. Stay tuned. I think you'll be surprised, especially at that nib. Okay, folks, we're back with the pen. Just take a look at that gem. Folks, I've got to tell you that I saw Doodlebud's review of this. I think he was the first one to get it because they sent it to him for review. And he kind of used it for a week, and then it came out at the same time that it was put up for sale at least on Amazon. That's where I saw it. And, I don't know if you know, but Doodlebud has got huge hands. So in his hands, this pen looked minuscule. I just had the impression, it's just another cigar-shaped kind of thinnish pen. But in my hands, I don't know if, I've got large hands, but not as huge as Doodlebud. I got to tell you, when I opened the package, and it comes, by the way, I didn't show it to you, but it comes in the standard Asvine plastic box. It's a piston filler, so they give you the tool to remove the piston, etc. Some instructions, so there's nothing new there. But when I removed it from the box, I said, "Wow, this is a substantial pen." No, now don't get me wrong; it will do some size comparisons in just a few seconds. But that's the first thing that struck me was how substantive the pen is. It's got absolutely great weight, but it's not, just a steel pen. It's a brushed titanium. Now it does come in, let me just show you. Yeah, it comes in brushed titanium. or it comes in kind of that bright titanium, which is kind of a shiny offering. I chose to get it in this brushed version, and I don't have any regrets. It is gorgeous. It is really, really nice. I mean, I don't see anything, when you look at it, the barrel is nice. All of the rings are in the right place. Beautiful center band that says Asvine J16. As usual, you get the number. That is, it's just a little touch, so that at least I know the pen. With all these numbers, you kind of lose track. It's just a nice touch that you have the brand name, the model on the center band. It's got that typical, I think it's a typical nib. Nothing spectacular, stiff but functional. The build quality is just up to par. I mean, it is very nice. Yes, it's a cigar shaped. Yes, it is a Mont Blanc kind of inspired look, if you will. And we'll take a look at some comparisons. I'm going to do a detailed comparison, maybe a little more detailed than usual, just to give you kind of a sense for what this pen looks like, etc. And I think it's just fabulous. I am very, very impressed. I've got to tell you, I love this brushed titanium. Now, let's see. It opens up in 1.5 turns to reveal a Yowo nib. They've now gone to Yowo. Now, the pen is a little expensive. It is $84 with the Yowo nib. I'm not sure they offer any other choice, frankly, which is too bad because the Asvine nibs are really nice. At least not that I saw. Perhaps on some other retail outlet, AliExpress maybe will have it soon. But on Amazon, at least Amazon, the Canadian site, all I saw was this Yowo nib. And it is brushed titanium. It's actually the brushed, is it more expensive than, let me just check. Yeah, the brushed titanium is a little more expensive than the bright titanium. The bright titanium is $84. The brushed titanium is $108. And I've got a feeling that nib is responsible. Now, the nib is a typical, off the, there's nothing branded on there. This is a broad that I chose with a nice Yowo feed, plastic feed. It is so the Yowo nib, I'm sure, which goes for anywhere between $20, $30 these days, I don't know, could explain that. The piston filler, as you can see, you have kind of a dark, shaded, transparent window. The mechanism is super smooth. I mean, I've had some Italian pens that go for $700-800 that don't have the smooth quality of the piston as this one is. Now, it's either very well lubricated or it just works very nicely. But very, very nice. The feel in the hand is just, I think, heavy enough to make it substantive, but light enough to make it extremely, extremely comfortable, as you could see. Works very nicely. It's got that section is beautiful. It's got a very indented flare there, so to keep any slippage. That brushed titanium makes it such that it is not slippery in the least. Not at all. The threads are smooth. You can hold it either higher up or lower down. Even the little step down is minimal. So comfort, 100%, 10 on 10. Does it post? I believe it does. Now, I wouldn't want to ruin that brushed titanium. Regardless, it does make it a little back heavy, I would say. But it does sit nicely, at least in my hands, in that, crook of my hand there. So it makes a comfortable experience. It's not a totally back-weighted experience, but I can sense the weight, but it just sits there nicely. So those of you who absolutely need to post, I don't think is a problem. But again, does it turn the mechanism is the question. I don't think so. You could see it's lodged in there, so I'm having difficulty. Just in terms of section, you could see that it goes right beneath the piston filler, so I don't believe that it affects that piston filler at all. There you have it. I mean, absolutely impressed. Very impressed. The J16. I don't know what that J stands for, but I've got a feeling it probably stands for YOLO. But that's just a suspicion I have. But there you have it. That's the pen on the outside. In the inside, we're going to do some very detailed pen and size comparisons just to give you an idea of where this pen is situated. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so the first comparison I'd like to show you here is, and it's interesting. Let me just get my trusty pointer. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, get that out of the way. That's the subject pen. This is the Dieman 100. Okay, this is a Safari, and you can see it's much bigger than the Lamy Safari. This is the Natami, what is it, Starship or Warship. This is the Asvine V200, and you can tell that it's just as big as the Asvine V200, frankly, and bigger than the Asvine P36. In fact, why don't we do this so that you can, just so that we can compare Asvines to Asvines and give you a sense of where it's situated. As you can see, it is longer than the Asvine V200, probably girth. I mean, it's a different shaped pen, obviously, but you can tell the girth is there, and it's much bigger than the P36, which is a substantive, I would say to you, substantive pen. So there you have the pens, at least these pens compared. Now, rather than uncap them and cap them, I'm going to refrain from doing that. I just want to compare it to some other pens that are kind of Mont Blanc inspired, just to give you a sense of where this pen is situated. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. Now, this is the Asvine, I keep forgetting, I think it's the V126, is it not? Yes. I first saw it, I said to myself, it's probably just another V126, but it's not. It's bigger than a V120. This is my Mont Blanc Le Grand Solitaire, which is essentially a fancy 146. And as you can see, it is much bigger than that pen. This is my Mont Blanc 149, and it's longer. It may not have the same girth, at least on the cap. Maybe same girth here, but slightly slimmer, I would say, and it's difficult because of the black color. But here you have the 159, and maybe if we put the 159 next to it, because you could see, maybe I should have chosen another background, because with the black background you kind of lose sight of the size. But again, I think it's not as girthy as the 149, and this is what and I keep forgetting, is it the Janelle? Yeah, X159. You can see it's a little bit slimmer. It's, I think, probably equivalent to this is the Lemon M6 that just came out. And here again, it is bigger than the Lemon M6, which is kind of a 146 clone. It's bigger than this, what is it, the Winsung, I keep forgetting the numbers. I think it's bigger than the Winsung 699, or at least thicker anyway. This is the Majon. I think it's bigger than hold on, maybe it isn't. Yeah, it's longer, and I think girthier than the Majon. The Majon, and again, I forget the numbers. I apologize. Moonman, what is it P136? But that kind of gives you an idea of where these pens are at. Let me uncap them so to give you an idea of what they look like uncapped. So here are the pens uncapped, and as you can tell, the subject pen is just sticks out like a sore thumb. It is somewhere in between the 146 and the 149. That's where I would situate it. In terms of length, I mean, even the 149 and the X159, which have those big, juicy number 8 nibs, are slightly, in length anyway, shorter, just slightly shorter. So I think the only one that probably is a little bit longer, just by a few millimeters, if any, is this Wingsung. But otherwise, you could tell that these pens are just very equivalent, but that Asvine is, in my view, a real contender, and going to give these other pen makers a really run for their money. I got to tell you, now they've added the Yowo nib. Now I'm fed up of the same Yowo nibs. Frankly, I would have preferred the Asvine. Charge me $20, $30 less. Give me that pen with a nice Asvine nib. I think they're selling themselves short. But, demand for a Yowo nib is still there. Most of the time, Yowo nibs are easy to tune, even if it doesn't come out right out of the box. A little bit of tuning and there they go. So I guess that's the attraction. Now, let me just come back and compare the pens posted. Here are the pens posted. Now, some are better posters than others, as you may know, but it gives you an idea. I think it's a little exaggerated. It's just as exaggerated as the Wingsung. As I mentioned, in the hand, there's still comfort there. I would not shy away from posting it if absolutely necessary. So it's postable, but it does become a little bit lengthy. But there you have the comparison of the pens. Capped, uncapped, and posted. So there you have it. We'll do some measurements, and then we'll look at that pen in a writing sample. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for the writing sample, and first of all, the ink. The ink that I've chosen is, and I don't know how this is going to work out. I forget whether this is a dry ink or it is a standard Dieman from the Dieman, oh God, the collection? It's the last one. I forget. Was it the black collection? It slips my mind right now. But it's Early Dusk. Nice bottle. And I haven't been using this ink at all. It's a nice blue ink. It kind of gives me this silverish kind of a connotation that I thought would be nice with this brushed titanium. So, it kind of, works, I think. So let's take a look at what it gives. Here's a swatch of it. This is my swatch book, by the way. I haven't shown this in a while. This is Good Impressions, Good Inkpressions. You can buy this at on Etsy, and it's a nice, neat swatch book where you could swatch your ink, put down the brand, the name, the date that you buy it, etc. But here it is. That's the Dieman Early Dusk. So it's kind of a nice grayish, silverish, sheening blue ink that I think would, kind of evokes titanium, if you will. It's even grayer in real life. It's kind of coming out really nice and blue on the camera, but it's a little more silverish, if you will, in real life. But that's the ink. The paper I'm using is this Yamamoto paper, notepad, Sansen Tomoe River. So there you have it. Let's see what this. Now, I have not tuned this pen. I have not done anything. I think it's important that we see how these Yo-O nibs are coming out of at least Asvine, and to see whether or not it is a broad. So I'm expecting it to be a real nice writer, and if it doesn't, it will disappoint me. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the Asvine J16 in brushed titanium. Okay, is there anything else to note? No, that's it. The nib is a Yo-O number 6 steel broad. The ink is Dieman early dusk. Okay. Now, the nib is not perfect. I've seen usually a broad, is it broad? Yes, it is. Broad is a lot thicker. It's just writing a little more like a medium. This way is very smooth. This way is smooth as well. Now let me just go this way. Smooth, but I feel a little edge. Yeah, right there. Right there. Yeah. There's a little bit of an edge. So not perfect out of the box. Give me a second, I'll be right back and do some very quick tuning and let you know if it works. Okay, so I'm back. Yeah, just a little micro mesh there. I don't want to have that anymore. It's also this ink. I think this ink is kind of a dry ink. And now I know why I've not been using it. I think right off the bat I was disappointed in it when I purchased it. But having said that, I think just a little bit of fine tuning there. The pen now is fairly wet. In terms of wetness, let's just look at it now that I've, you can't complain. The ink is a dry ink, kind of a light ink, but it's wet. It's now smooth with some minor tuning. However, it is constant. Now, one of the viewers asked me, what do you mean by constant? You keep saying constant. What do you mean? Sorry, I perhaps the vocabulary, I'm not a master there in terms of, fountain pen jargon. What I mean by constant is that it is, there's no skipping. When I write, there's no skipping at all. So especially on the fast writing, it's a very constant line. And when I start, there are no art starts. That is essentially what I mean by constant. It is fairly constant, I would say. Reverse writing, yeah, keeps up. Kind of gives me an extra fine line, if you will. So there you have it. Very nice. Very, very nice. And I can see this pen with a juicy ink like, Konpeki or, a nice wet ink. Wow. it's going to give me a very nice line. So I'm very, very happy with this. So what are the likes and dislikes? Okay. The design, in terms of girth and size, it's a nice size because it's bigger than, I think it's bigger than a 146, but smaller than a 149. So it's just in between. That's my conclusion. The build quality is just, it's Asvine. Okay, there's really nothing there. They made sure to cover, and look, I want to make sure here that I'm not misleading you, but I don't see this affecting the piston in the one, because it stays there. So, one thing I didn't check is just to see whether or not there is a step down there that protects and shields it from drying. Yeah, it's there. Even that detail is there. Wow, what can I tell you, folks? This is really nice. So the build quality, I mean, I give it a 10 on 10. It is really nice. It's got a Yowo nib. So, it's typical. I think, unless the pen maker checks its pens, fine-tunes them, and makes sure that before it's put in a box and delivered or sent out, it works. I'm not sure Asvine did this on this pen. There was a little bit of an issue here when that sort of thing. But like I said, it took me 10 seconds to correct it with some micro mesh. And Yowo nibs, Bach nibs, Schmidt nibs, they may not be perfect out of the box, but you do have the quality of a Yowo nib if you wish. Okay, and it's there, so some people would consider that a plus. Dislikes, folks, I'm struggling. I'm really struggling to find it. I mean, the only thing I would say is price, because at $108 for the brushed aluminum Canadian, they're now asking for more for their pens. I would have preferred if they just charged me $20, $30 less and given me an Asvine medium. I would have been very happy with that, or at least offer the choice as they've done with, for example, the V200, where you can buy the Bach nib or the Asvine nib. But it's the nib, I would imagine that section can be screwed off and screwed back on. And I've often changed. You can change your nibs now, because if it's a Yowo, you can get an extra fine. You can get that elastic flex nib. You can get the 1.1. You can get a 1.5. So you can swap nibs a little bit easier if you wish. You can even put in a Yowo gold nib if that's your fancy. So the question of the nib can be looked at either a dislike or a like. The price is really the only issue. Some people may not want to spend $108 Canadian, which is what, roughly $80 US. But all in all, it's a go for me. Very, very nice. Let me just sign it one more time. It's a go-to pen, absolutely. And by go-to, I mean EDC. It's an everyday carry, 10 on 10. Yeah, there's nothing that would prevent me from using this pen on a daily basis. It's an attractive pen. It's got good size, good quality, writes well. You know what? There's really nothing more I can say than to give it a really, really A+. Asvine J16, folks. Another one added to your list. Sorry about that. But what can I tell you? It is what it is. It's fabulous. It's just fabulous. It's $80. It's not $300. It's brushed titanium. Piston filler. you know, it's hard. I think it's hard to not give it a nice score. It really is difficult. So there you have it, folks. Thank you very much for joining me. Now, as I said, I've got the nib series going. I've put up part 1. I've got 3 more parts. I just wanted to mention that there may be a 5th part, and that would be Joshua Lax, who is a nibmeister, has reached out. We've communicated, and we may add another part to that nib series where he will speak to grinding of pens and how you do and what nibmeisters do and what kind of services they can offer and how he can affect the pen and when a pen should go to a nibmeister and when, we still haven't figured out all of the subjects, but it's obviously going to be nibmeister oriented. So stay tuned for that. But I may want to, publish those in not immediate, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Just because I have so many pens. I have like 10 pens that I need to review, and I really want to get out to you as quickly as I can. So be patient with that, and we will do our best. Not to mention that autumn is a very busy month for me. Work-wise at the office, I'm a trial litigator, and I've got one major trial coming up of long duration. So, I got to squeeze some fountain pen therapy in there, in between somewhere. So, please oblige and please be patient. Grazie molto. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please let me know. If you don't like it, well, let me know why not. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. A lot of you watch but don't subscribe. I'm there regularly. We review all kinds of pens. We try to make things interesting as much as possible. I speak to you with passion and try to give you all a fountain pen therapy and encourage you to keep up the hobby. It's a great hobby. And I think we all love writing and journaling and swatching inks and experimenting. And it's all about taking some time to enjoy ourselves and relaxing right before the winter months set in, at least here in Canada, and the snow sets in. My golf game is almost over. I think I got maybe 1 or 2 games left, weather permitting. And that's it, folks. Life goes on, as they say. Grazie molto. Thank you very much for joining me.